Sure. Here's a rewritten and tightened version of your story in an HFY, humanity fuck yeah, style while keeping the same dramatic tone and message, do not harm human children, an alien's last warning. If you ever find yourself at war with humans, the alien bartender said, his voice low and grave, never, ever, touch their children. You'll awaken something ancient, something you'll wish had stayed buried. The dimly lit bar fell into silence, the haze of burning leaves thick in the air. Veterans leaned in, their drinks forgotten. Gretok, a scarred soldier from the Shrike Wars, flexed his burned, jointed hands, the black scars a lifetime reminder. I thought we had them, he said, locking eyes with a silent human sitting in the shadows. Squishy, small, easy prey. That was before we hit their colonies. A ripple of unease passed through the room. Everyone knew what it meant when you attacked. A human colony. It was no longer war. It was personal. Our orders were clear. Wipe the outpost on Tau Ceti, take prisoners, make a statement, Gretok said. But there were children there. We took them, kicking and screaming. He paused, jaw tightening. One message got out before we destroyed their comms. Just one. We didn't think it mattered. He looked up, haunted. Then they came. The silence grew heavier. The sky screamed as their ships tore through the atmosphere. I still hear it when I close my eyes. Lieutenant Marcus Talbot stood on the bridge of the Revenant, staring at the alien world below. His fists clenched, rage simmering beneath cold eyes. "We're going in," he said. "Sir," Sergeant Klein warned, "Intel says it's suicide. They've got orbital guns, planetary shields." "I don't care," Talbot snapped. "They took our kids." Every soldier on the ship had lost someone on Tau Ceti. There would be no negotiations. No mercy. The Shrike fortress, carved into the cliffs, bristled with weapons. Their anti-air batteries lit the skies with plasma. Human dropships plummeted through the chaos like fiery meteors. Some were shot down. Most weren't. Inside, one of the lead crafts, Talbot stood still amid the tremble of turbulence, rifle in hand. Beside him, Klein checked his gear. "We'll hit the ground hot." "We're already in hell," Talbot replied. The ship landed hard. The door slid open. Flames, screams, smoke, a battlefield. Talbot led the charge, boots slamming against alien soil, his men behind him, silent and furious. They weren't there for victory. They were there for Vakte. Vengeance. Absolutely, Hamza. Here's a rewritten and condensed version of your intense sci-fi scene, keeping the emotion, chaos, and HFY tone strong and cinematic. The Reckoning. Humanity unleashed. Gunfire roared around them. Explosions shook. The earth. Screams echoed through smoke and rubble, but Talbot's team pushed forward, relentless. Every step took them closer to their objective. Every heartbeat, a war drum. The Shrike defenders, tall, armored reptiles, broke ranks under the pressure. They weren't prepared for this kind of enemy. Humans didn't stop. They didn't hesitate. "They took our kids!" someone shouted over the comms. The squad answered with fury. Shrike bodies dropped one after another, their defenses collapsing beneath human rage. Plasma bolts zipped past as Talbot fired from cover. 3 precise shots, 3 enemies down. "Shields are down!" Klein yelled. Talbot didn't wait. "Push through! No mercy!" A chain of detonations shook the field as the human forces surged toward the core of the fortress, the place the children were held. At the bar, Gretok's voice had fallen to a hush. "I remember our commander's last scream over the comms. They didn't fight to win. They fought like we tore out their souls." He looked hollow, haunted. When they found those kids, it was over. The humans hunted us down, burned everything. The human in the corner took a slow sip of his drink, watching Greytalk the whole time. "Yeah," he said finally. "That sounds about right." Talbot moved like a predator through the burning ruins, his squad tight behind him. Every enemy they met was cut down without pause. This wasn't war anymore. It was justice. "Move!" he barked, diving behind shattered concrete as plasma. Fire ripped past. "Klein, take the left flank." The sergeant nodded, signaling Marines forward. They sprinted through debris, covering each other with precision. Then Talbot spotted it, the blast doors to the main compound. It was time. "Charge the door!" Two soldiers dashed forward, planting charges as the squad laid down suppressing fire. Talbot fired short, controlled bursts, each one fatal. With a thunderous boom, the doors gave in. Dust and debris clouded the air, but Talbot didn't wait. He charged in, team close behind, into the Shrike's lair. Inside was a maze of alien corridors, but Talbot had a map in his head. Captured intel told them where to go. "The kids are deep inside," he said. "Expect traps. They're desperate." They pushed forward, methodical and cold. The Shrike had never seen humans like this before, fighting not for victory but vengeance. "This is it," Klein whispered, pointing at a heavy door. Talbot nodded. His pulse pounded. He hit the panel. The door hissed open. Darkness. The only light came from glowing containment fields, and inside them the children, small, silent, terrified. Talbot froze for a moment. His chest tightened, then his voice sharpened. "Get them out!" A tech rushed forward, working the controls. Behind them, Talbot's rifle stayed raised. There would be no more mercy. Not today. Here's a rewritten version of your intense sci-fi scene. I've kept the same meaning and pacing, but changed the wording and flow for a fresh, cinematic feel. Klein's voice crackled over the comms, low and tense. "Sir, we've got movement. Multiple contacts inbound. Looks like a counterattack." Talbot muttered a curse. They had taken too long. The Shrike weren't about to let them walk out with the children. "Everyone get ready," Talbot barked, moving to the doorway. "Klein, lock down this room. No one gets through." The Marines snapped into action, forming a tight perimeter in the narrow corridor. The echoes of incoming Shrike forces grew louder by the second. Talbot raised his rifle, adrenaline flooding his veins. The moment hit like a thunderclap. Shrike. Soldiers stormed into view, screeching their battle cries as plasma fire lit up the hallway. Talbot dropped the first enemy, but the others surged forward. "Hold the line!" Klein shouted, firing in controlled bursts. Wave after wave hit. Them. Talbot clenched his jaw, fighting tooth and nail as Shrike bodies stacked, but so did his own. "We're getting overrun!" a Marine yelled before a plasma bolt struck him down. Talbot's mind raced. They couldn't fail. Not now, not with those kids behind them. "Klein!" he shouted. "We need an exit strategy. I'm working on it. If we hold out a little longer, I can blow the back wall. Give us a way out." "Do it!" Talbot growled, cutting down another. "Shrike!" The onslaught intensified. Smoke choked the air. Heat scorched their lungs. And still the enemy came. Then, "Sir! The fields are down!" the tech called out. "Kids are free!" Talbot stole a glance back. The children were terrified, but alive. "Prep for evac!" he barked. "Klein! Almost there!" Klein responded, strained but determined. Time had run out. "All units fall back!" Talbot commanded. "We're blowing our way out!" The squad responded instantly, dragging the children toward the rear. Talbot stayed behind, firing non-stop until the last soldier passed. With a thunderous explosion, the rear wall collapsed, revealing the cold night sky beyond. "Go!" Talbot roared, ushering them through the breach. They spilled out into the open, the Marines forming a protective ring around the children. Talbot brought up the rear, rifle scanning for movement as they pushed across the rough terrain. "Keep moving!" he shouted, eyes flicking toward the horizon. The evac shuttle was supposed to be there. But the sky was still empty. Klein approached, breathing hard. "Sir, we won't hold long. They're regrouping." "We need that shuttle," Talbot muttered, activating his comms. "Revenant, this is Talbot. Immediate extraction needed. Do you copy?" Only static answered. "Damn it," he hissed. "Klein. Defensive line. Now." The Marines dug in, piling debris and rocks into makeshift cover. They knew what was coming. "They're here," a Marine said, voice barely above a whisper. A distant rumble grew into a thunder as Shrike soldiers emerged from the haze. Dozens, then hundreds, eyes glowing, weapons raised. Talbot stared down, the advancing tide. "If the shuttle doesn't come, we stand here," he said grimly. Klein nodded. "To the last man, sir." The Shrike charged. Their war cries tore through the night as they slammed into the Marines' defenses. Gunfire roared. Plasma bolts scorched the dark. Talbot fired relentlessly, his rifle kicking back with each shot. "They're pushing hard!" Klein yelled, dropping a Shrike that got too close. Still, they came. A bolt grazed Talbot's shoulder. He barely flinched. "They're flanking!" someone cried. Shrike were climbing the cliffs now, trying to encircle them. Talbot turned and fired into the swarm. "Klein, we're getting squeezed!" Suddenly, a roar split the sky. A light streaked overhead. Talbot looked up, heart leaping. "The shuttle!" "Evac confirmed," he shouted into his comms. "Prepare for extraction." The shuttle dropped low, ramp extended, crew waving frantically. "Kids first!" Talbot ordered. The Marines herded them aboard, shielding them from stray fire. One by one, soldiers followed, until only Talbot and Klein remained. "Go!" Talbot shouted. Klein hesitated, but only for a heartbeat, then sprinted aboard. Talbot covered their retreat, firing until his magazine ran dry. He backed onto the ramp, slammed his hand against the hull. "Go!" The shuttle engine screamed as it lifted off, leaving the battlefield behind. Inside, the Marines slumped, exhausted, wounded, but alive. The children were safe. Talbot leaned back, chest heaving as the adrenaline faded. He gazed out the viewport at the shrinking world below. "We made it," Klein said softly. Talbot didn't answer right away. His eyes were distant, fixed on the stars. Then, slowly, a grim smile crept across his face. "We did, and they'll never forget." Back in the bar, Gretok's voice faded to silence. His tale was done. No one spoke. The human in the corner stood, dropped a few credits on the counter, and looked Gretok in the eyes. "You told it right," he said, then walked out, leaving behind a silence heavier than before. Gretok stared after him, then turned to the bartender. "Humans," he muttered. "You don't cross them. Not like that." The bartender said nothing. He didn't have to. The lesson had already sunk in.